Right, we are looking at our final PowerPoint presentation on direct and indirect speech. Remember, that is when you are changing a person's direct words into indirect words, also sometimes called reported speech, because I'm going to report on a person's direct words. For example, this young man said, I will call you tomorrow, and then the following Tuesday, after the Friday night, of course, she calls her friend. He never called. There's the ice cream, that's the evidence. Reporting his words. He said that he would call me the next day. So we are looking at direct, indirect speech. Certain changes need to be made to the adverbs of time and adverbs of place. So words that's going to show me time and words that's going to show me place. These have to change. So some examples of time words would be now, tomorrow, next week. He said he would call me tonight, or the next day, or the following day, or yesterday, or last night. Any word that shows me time has to change from the direct to the indirect speech, but only when my reporting verb is in the past tense. Am I going to change time words, because that links with my tense. However, words that show me place will always change. And what do they change in? In my indirect speech, now becomes then. He said he would call me now. He said that he would call me then. Tomorrow becomes the following day. Next week is the following week, or you can replace that with the next week. Tonight becomes that night. Today becomes that day. Yesterday becomes the day before. So that day, that night, the day before. Last night, the night before. Or the previous night, but that's a bit difficult to spell. Last week, the week before. So you can see a pattern there. Before and that. And then words that's always going to change to keep the meaning of the sentence will be words that show me place, adverbs of place. So here becomes there, and this becomes that, and these become those. Make a list of these. So remember, I only change time words when my reporting verb is in the past tense, but words that's going to show me place, I always change, regardless of whether my reporting verb is in the past tense or not. Changes of pronouns, these also always take place, otherwise we lose the meaning of our sentence. I'm just going to put the list on here for you. You can copy it in your own time, but these are very basic. I said, I'll bake you a cake. Mrs. Neethling said that. She said she would bake them a cake. We becomes they. Me or you becomes him or her, depending on the context of your sentence. Us becomes them. That is my piece of chocolate cake. She said that that was her piece of chocolate cake. This pizza is ours. They said that that pizza was theirs. And mine becomes either his or hers or theirs, depending on the context of the sentence. So that is how your pronouns will change, and this always happens. Remember, you always change your pronouns, regardless of the tense of the reporting verb. Right, so to summarize step by step, what happens? If I change from direct to indirect speech, step by step. Step number 1, you're going to remove all your punctuation marks, your inverted commas, your question marks, exclamation marks, capital letters. Step 2, change your pronouns always, otherwise you're going to change the meaning of your sentence. Step number 3, copy that clause which contains the reporting verb as is. You're not allowed to change anything with regards to that clause. Copy it as is. Then we get to our linking word. We spent quite a lot of time on getting the correct linking word there. 5th step, change your tenses, and that is all going to depend on your reporting verb. If your reporting verb is in the past tense, change your tenses 1 step back into the past. If your reporting verb is in the present tense, leave it alone. Then you change your adverbs of time, and this is also going to depend on your reporting verb. If your reporting verb is in the past tense, all your adverbs of time have to go 1 step back into the past. And lastly, all adverbs, words that show me place, this I must change always. Otherwise, again, I'm going to lose the meaning of my sentence. So just for those of you who are or work in pictures like me, get rid of your inverted commas, any question marks, any exclamation marks, get rid of them. My pronouns, I always have to change these. Remember that little clause? You copy it as is. You remember your linking word. Make sure you can differentiate between statement, question, and command. My tenses and my time, I always change according to my reporting verb. My reporting verb is in the past tense. These have to change 1 step back into the past. And lastly, any words that show me place, I always change. That's your direct, indirect, step by step. We are going to look at some examples. I suggest that you only write down your heading, for example, in this case, statement example, and then you write down the first example. I'm going to look at 3 just for thoroughness sake. Right, in my direct speech, I have 3 examples of statements. They said to me, we are going to visit Cape Town tomorrow. That's a statement. We are going to visit Cape Town tomorrow. My reporting verb is in the past tense. Therefore, I use the first bit as is. They said to me. They said to me. I'm not allowed to change anything there. I get rid of all my punctuation marks. Do you see? I have nothing left there. And then I change my pronouns. We becomes they. And then I change my tense. Because my reporting verb is in the past tense, I have to change are going 1 step back into the past into were going. And then lastly, I have to change any words that shows me time. So in this case, tomorrow shows me time. Tomorrow then becomes the following day. The next example, Jeffrey said, I didn't go to school today. As you can see there, I'm just going to talk you through it. That bit stays the same. I don't have any more punctuation marks. I didn't go. That, he didn't, hadn't gone, didn't go changes into hadn't gone, my verb. My linking word in every case is that, because I'm working with a statement. And today becomes that day. Anne told Agus, my father got angry with me last night. Anne told Agus that, my linking word is that, because I am working with a statement. I don't change anything at the beginning. Anne told Agus, Anne told Agus, it stays exactly the same. I get rid of all my punctuation marks. I have my linking word, in this case that, and then I change my pronouns. My father becomes her father, and remember to change your tense. Got angry, had got angry with her, and then my time words. Last night, the night before. Again, I'm giving you 3 examples, but just for time's sake, I'm going to look at one because our rhyme pretty much stays the same. The only thing that's going to differ now is going to be my linking word. Right, here I have a positive command. Remember, I want you to do something. Open your book on page 65. Give me a new piece of paper. Call me tonight. All of these are positive commands where I expect you to do something. And in each case, my reporting verb is in the past tense. So now I know I have to change my tenses and my time words. The teacher told me. I get rid of all my punctuation marks. When I am working with a positive command, I have the infinitive form of my verb, to open, to please give her, to call him. So in all of these cases, my linking word is going to be to. And then I use the most simple form of my verb after to. The teacher told me to open. Your book becomes my book. And then you have made all the significant changes. You can look at the other 2 examples for clarity's sake. Let's look at a negative command example. Again, I have given you 3. I suggest you only copy 1. Negative command, I'm asking you not to do something. Don't leave me alone. Don't hurt me. Don't disturb me. Again, my reporting verb, in each case, it's in the past tense. So I must change my tenses. First bit stays exactly the same. Sandy asked Eddie. Sandy asked Eddie. I can't change anything about that. My linking words are always going to be not to, not to, not to, because I'm working with a negative command. And then I have to change one step back into the past. Don't leave me alone anymore. Not to leave. But luckily, because I'm working with the infinitive, I don't have to worry about tenses now. Not to leave me alone, her alone anymore. Remember, when I have to plus my verb, that is the infinitive. So I'm always going to use the most simple form of my verb after to. That is why leave stays leave and doesn't become left, and not to disturb, it doesn't become not to disturbed him. So be careful when you get to a command and there's a to or a not to linked to your verb. We're going to look at a WH question example. Remember, that is where my direct words will contain a WH. Where, why, who. Then I have to use that as my linking word. So the girl asked me stays exactly the same. The girl asked me, where did you come from? Where then becomes my linking word. Where do you, I change my pronoun I, and then come one step back into the past becomes came, because there's no to now. I'm asking a question. The girl asked me, where do you come from? The girl asked me where I came from. My father asked my brother, why did you arrive home late last night? My father asked my brother, then I use that WH word as my linking word, my question word. Why did you arrive? Did arrive, in the past tense, had arrived one step back. Last night becomes the night before. And you can just take note of the last example. Lastly, we're looking at yes/no questions. Remember, that is where my direct words would answer yes or no to a question. Ricky asked Henry. Just check again. My reporting verb in each case is in the past tense. Does your father work near here? Yes, he does, or no, he doesn't. Therefore, now when I am working with this type of question, I know that my linking word is going to be if or whether. And remember, I want to urge you to rather use if rather than whether, because whether we so frequently misspell. So just for a little tip. Ricky asked Henry, that stays exactly the same. I'm not allowed to change anything here. Ricky asked Henry, linking word, if. Does your father work near here? His father, does, is in the simple present, so I have to change it one step back into the past. Worked. And your father becomes his father. Work near here, there's a word that shows me place. Work near there. Mr. Bean asked Cynthia, have you collected your homework? Mr. Bean asked Cynthia if or whether, if you are feeling brave, but rather go for if have you collected, you becomes she, have becomes had, collected her homework, your becomes her. So changing pronouns, changing tenses, changing time words, changing place words, getting rid of all my punctuation. And you can just have a look at the last one to make sure that you've got the concept.